Okay. Hi everyone. Very good morning. Welcome to our hi team. Very good morning. Welcome to our 9 a.m. class on Odd One Out. Uh, so basically, we are doing this Tuesday to Friday. We are going live at 9 a.m. and we are talking about verbal ability section. This is the third week, and before this, we were talking about verbal ability along with grammar and vocabulary lessons also in the same class. So, so the thing is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve questions in front of you. At the same time, before the questions, we give you some insights into the. So if you see day before yesterday or yesterday's classes, the insights were different. So these are certain techniques which are not told to you, but you are supposed to understand only by doing them, only arrive at those techniques, only by self-help, by self-progress, which we tell you at the very beginning so that you reach that position to that technique, which you will self-technique, which or this understanding that, okay, this is how it has to be done earlier than you would do otherwise. So this sort of helps. Also, I think uh, uh, preparing for classes, preparing for your CAT examination, one important part is that you get help in terms of doubt solving sessions. You get help terms of the in terms of the solution and the analysis, um, uh, which uh, which has to be done so that you sort of improve your skills a lot. So how it has to be done, you have to get access to a quality content portal, a portal which has quality content, and a portal which gives you solutions and which helps you analyze your strong and weak areas. So what you have to do is that if you are, say, finding that you are going wrong in certain kind of odd one out questions, certain type of odd one out questions, right? And when you find that there's a particular kind of problem, say you are not able to do well in life sciences question, there's a life sciences question and you are not doing well there, then sort of you can revisit uh, those questions again, and you can also search for similar articles and similar uh, editorials on the net, and you can read them more often. Or if you're going wrong in, say, particular kind of options, so there's a certain sort of options which are getting problems for you, so you can be more mindful while going through those options next time, and you can be also more aware of uh, of these options in future. uh, so how you can do that? One thing is that you can subscribe to Unacademy, and you can sort of take help from there. They have got amazing doubt solving sessions. We have got amazing content. We have got amazing solutions to the problems. We help you analyze your mistakes. So my name is Anupam. Welcome to the 9am class, like we've said, and I have more than 3 years of work experience in training candidates for CAT with respect to the VA RC section, also other prestigious other management entrances that worldwide. To stay in touch, download and install on Academy app. Go to Plus, go to CAT, go to subscribe, and these are the 5 options. These are the 5 options in front of you. Anything more than 12 months makes sense. 12 months fee is 15,750 and 24 months fee is 18,900 after applying the code Saxena 10. Yeah, that is how it is, and also there is a lot of free content with respect to there are a lot of free special live classes which happen. So I'm going live for special classes on the Unacademy app. These classes happen on the Unacademy app. I do every Sunday. So this Sunday we are doing a class on odd one out. At the same time, we are also so, and a lot of people are doing it. Many educators come live and they give special free classes, and those special free classes are recorded and you can utilize them like you utilize our CAT video. So once they're live, they're recorded, and then you can, and then after 5 minutes you can utilize them n number of times at the time and place of your choice, and you can prepare from them. But at the same time, like I said, that preparation is never complete until and unless you solve questions, quality questions which have been developed, keeping in mind the latest CAT pattern, keeping in mind that how your skills have to be honed, keeping in mind that the explanations have to be in a way such that the candidates understand the mistakes, they don't repeat them, or they repeat them less often. So please subscribe to Unacademy, and like I said, there are a lot of free options also on our app, and we've got no cost EMI also available on 6, 12 and 24-month subscription. So yeah, in odd one out, I've seen that sometimes questions have certain timestamp references. What are timestamp? Timestamp references are the certain hints or certain dates or certain periods of history or periods of time mentioned, which will signal, which will notify, which will hint us that a particular sentence is not in sync with the other sentences. Like there is like this sentence is not in sync with the central idea, or it is talking about a very different timestamp or time zone than the rest of the idea. So timestamp references can be helpful in identifying the odd one out. The next idea is that out of context lines are also an indicator of odd one out. So sometimes certain lines will be a line in an odd one out will be completely out of context, right? It can also be, so those lines are also an indicator of odd one outs, that this particular line is out of context. Like I've discussed that there is this in previous classes yesterday and even yesterday we discussed about the central idea and the primary purpose. So if a line is out of context of the other lines, which like the central idea or the primary purpose of the passage is talking about, say the Indian the first war of Indian independence 1857, but there is one line which is talking about the civil disobedience movement which happened very at a very later point in the early 20th century, which was called by Mahatma Gandhi, that we should have civil disobedience in Indian independence. Whereas the other four lines are talking about the first war of Indian independence, which took place in 1857 in mid 19th century. So there's a distinct timestamp difference, right? Also, there is the context is also odd one out, that we are talking about. Okay, a historian can have the same time same difference may not also work out, because a historian is trying to say in a paragraph, in the entire paragraph, a historian is trying to compare the events of the first war of Indian independence 1857 with the civil disobedience movement called by Mahatma Gandhi in 1930s. This civil disobedience movement, what are the parallels, or what are the problems, or what were the common themes, or what was opposite in them, right? These techniques, so if a paragraph is doing that, there is one line which talks about, say, impact of World War II, Second World War on Indian independence. This is again odd one out. We were talking about comparison between. I was given an example that what I was trying to say, that if a paragraph is talking about first war of Indian independence, which happened in 19th century, 1850s, or with comparing it with civil disobedience movement, which happened in 1930s and 40s. There's a comparison, and 4 lines are about them. And the 5th line, which is the right answer, which is odd one out, is talking about the impact of World War II on the Indian independence struggle. So basically, so it is. So if there is an out of context idea somewhere, that also has to be called out, and that will be your odd one out. So this is how you have to. Let's try and solve questions. Remember, we always take up some good CAT questions. So this is again CAT question, which come in CAT over last in a couple of years, and so let's try and solve this question. 5 sentences related to a topic are given below. 4 of them can be put together to form a meaningful and coherent short paragraph. Identify the odd one out. Choose its number as your answer and key it in. His idea to use sign language was not a completely new idea, as Native Americans use hand gestures to communicate with other tribes. So what is saying, that 4 of them can be put together to form a meaningful and coherent short paragraph. Identify the odd one out. Choose its number as your answer and key it in. His idea to use sign language was not a completely new idea, as Native Americans used hand gestures to communicate with other tribes. Somebody, his is referring to some. His, remember our para formation classes. We said that the pronoun should refer to some proper noun or some common noun somewhere, which should, so this his, if it's referring to some proper noun somewhere, then it's a match. It is completely sort of in sync. So his idea to use sign language was not completely new idea, as Native Americans use hand gestures to communicate with other tribes. So talking about sign language here, and it's not a new idea because earlier people who were not so trained, or they were like the Native Americans used to talk to other tribes, because tribal languages are again very distinct. I mean, they look all same, but language wise the language is very different, or the language is very different. Second says, ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle, for example, observed that men who are deaf are incapable of speech. Okay, okay, can be related, we don't know. So Aristotle is saying that men who are deaf are incapable of speech. This is talking about deaf, the muteness, that lack of hearing ability also sort of impacts your ability to speak. The people who are born deaf were denied the right to sign a will, as they were presumed to understand nothing, because it is not possible that they have been able to learn or to read, to learn to read or to write. Here the idea comes that it is somewhere saying that so two was talking about that people who are deaf, they are incapable of speech. Three, they are talking about that the people who are deaf, they were not allowed to sign because it was understood they cannot understand nothing. It was believed, assumed that they cannot understand nothing, because it is highly that it is unlikely that they might have learned something or read or write something. They were not allowed to sign a will itself. So it's talking about the capability, learning, and information, knowledge, and intellect standpoint. This idea is different from the second idea in the second line. However, it matches with the first idea of sign language. Let's see what next two lines talk about, and then we can decide that which of this is odd one out, whether 2 is odd one out or 3 is odd one out. Let's see. Push back against this prejudice. Which prejudice can be something, an injustice or a bias or a preconceived notion. Now presumed was assumed. So it refers to a preconceived notion and an assumption which has not been verified. So there's a very high chance that this word prejudice, and also it's prejudice has a negative connotation of having certain preconceived negative notions about others, which has been spoken of in the third line, that it is because it is not possible that they have been able to, it is not possible that they have been able to read or write or learn for the deaf, for the deaf and deaf people. So this 4 and 3 are a exact connection, that this pushback behind this prejudice, which one, that people who are deaf, they cannot understand, they cannot read or write, this bias, this negative attitude began in 16th century when Pedro Pons created a formal sign language for the hearing impaired. So pushback against this injustice, this prejudice began in the 16th century when Pedro Pons created a formal sign language for the hearing impaired. 5 says, so we know that we are talking about here about the ability of people to learn and read and write, because 3 and 4 are talking about it. Also it says that formal sign language. So formal sign language is connecting to idea 1. So we now know that idea in the second line that Aristotle thought. Now Aristotle is again a different time zone, right? It's around 4000 BC or 3000 BC, whenever he or she happened. We are talking about at least I mean, I sorry, I exactly don't know when Aristotle happened. I cannot tell with confidence right now, but at least it is much before than this Mr. Pedro Pons happened. So Pedro Pons was a Spanish monk. He was a priest, and he created formal sign languages for the and hence the name is also cannot be really completely pronounced in the English language because it's Pedro Pons. They can talk about that because I don't know exact pronunciation the last two words, so I'll not pronounce them. I'll keep myself safe there. I tried to look for the pronunciation, but I didn't get it properly on internet. So we know that ancient Greek, Aristotle happened at a different time zone, and he's talking about people who are deaf, they're also mute. We are talking about the learning capability, their ability to read and write and to understand, and a doubt on their capability of at least having the basic common sense of signing a will, right? So 1, 3, 4 are connected. 5, I'm sure, will also be connected. Let's see here. For millennia, people with hearing impairments encountered marginalization. Same thing happened. There's a bias because it was believed that language can only be learned by hearing the spoken word. So they are saying that so it will start with by this bias, this preconceived notion, this prejudice and injustice which was happening. It starts in line number 5. For millennia, for a millennia, that is for 1000 years, people with hearing impairments encountered marginalization. They were marginalized means they were ignored, they were not part of the mainstream, they were considered as a minority, and they were not considered part of the mainstream in terms of rights, in terms of the ability to sign the will, in terms of being intelligent enough. So they were thought that a person who cannot listen, how can he or she learn? People with hearing impairments encountered marginalization because it was believed that language could only be learned by hearing the spoken word. 5 comes to first line. Then comes 3. People who were born. Now this gives now after 5, 3 gives an example. It gives more information. People who were born deaf, who denied the right to sign a will, as they were presumed to understand nothing, because it is possible that they have been able to. It is not possible that they have been able to learn to read or write. Okay. Then comes 4th, pushback against this prejudice began in the 16th century when Pedro Pons created a formal sign language for the hearing impaired. And then comes one says his idea. Whose ideas? Pedro Pons' ideas. This monk, the Spanish monk idea. His idea to use sign language was not a completely new idea, as Native Americans used hand gestures to communicate with others. Ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle, for example, observed that men who are deaf are incapable of speech. This is out of context, and this is also talking about a timestamp which is very different. We are talking about 16th century. We are talking about 1500 years after the birth of Jesus Christ. Aristotle happened before Jesus Christ. Again, it's a different timestamp, talking about different idea. We're talking about the injustice met by them, that they were not given the equal importance. They were not considered that they will be ever able to learn to read or write. But in option number 2, they are talking about that deaf are incapable of speech. Different idea, out of context. Not talking about the reading or writing, or the injustice which was done to them because of this false belief of this wrong notion. And then the wrong notion was corrected by the sign language, and the sign language was not the first to use sign language. It has already been used by tribes across the world. So I hope it is all right, coming all right. Next comes 5 sentences related to a topic are given below in a jumbled order. 4 of them form a coherent and unified paragraph. Identify the odd sentence that does not go with the 4. Key in the number of the options that you choose. So we have to find again the odd one out. So this is how the odd one out question will look like. It will tell to you that 5 of the 5 sentences related to a topic are given below in a jumbled order. 4 of them form a paragraph. 1 does not. Finds the odd one out. Stat signals something measurable, while Matic advertised free labor, but Tron above all indicated control. So they're talking about so remember from Matic we can understand automatic, right? Also so it's possible that they're talking about suffix, right? Probably, we don't know. Suffix are what? Suffix are those monosyllables, those 3 or 4 letter words which are added behind a word to give it a new meaning. For example, sweet. Sweet was an adjective, but if you add any s, sweetness, and make it sweetness, NESS, you add behind sweet, it becomes sweetness. It becomes a quality, it becomes a noun, right? Sweetness, right? So when you add a particular monosyllable or a word or a particular group of letters to which add another layer of which when you add them to the word, they become a new word. So star. So probably they're talking about that. We don't know. Let's read further. This is our analysis. Okay, it was a totem of high modernization. Totem is what? Totem is an emblem, a symbol, basically. Totem of high modernism, the intellectual and cultural mode that decreed no process or phenomenon was too complex to be grasped, managed, and optimized. It's saying that somewhere these words were so no, we don't know about, but say it was a totem of high modernism, and it's high modernism means example of the modern values, and those modern values were that there's no process or no activity happening around us is too complex to be understood. So any activity, whether scientific or philosophical or political in nature or socio-economic in nature or in medical sciences, nothing is too difficult to be understood, grasped, or managed. It can be understood, and it can be optimized, also managed. So this is talking about some different idea. This is talking about that it was that something was a symbol of an idea that whatever processes, whatever developments or processes or work which is happening around us, or any idea around us, that can be understood. Let's see if this idea of modernism gels with anything else, or if this is odd one out or one is odd one out, we don't know. Let's see next. Like heraldic shields of ancient knights. Heraldic shields of ancient knights. Heraldic shields were what? Who were knights? Knights are these warriors. They were these like in Japanese we have got these samurai, and in modern times we have these para commandos and these Navy SEALs, and in India we have Black Hat commandos or Marcos or Garuds, or US UK have got their own. So they were these elite fighters who were very highly trained, very highly skilled, and they had high respect. So like the heraldic shields. Heraldic will mean that heraldic means that when something announces something, promotes an idea or announces an idea. So basically you can understand that here heraldic means that before a knight, so knight will carry a shield with himself. I'm saying himself because in those days knights were men, and so there is nothing gender related about it. I'm talking about the whatever is happening in past. So knights basically, so they used to carry certain shields, and these shields were used to. So if you cannot see by the dress, the face of a person, or by the ranks he or she is wearing, then shields can tell you what is the level, what is the designation, what is the authority which this particular warrior has. So shield used to announce that a knight has come, because shield can be seen from a greater distance. It can be observed from a greater distance, right? So like the heraldic shields of ancient knights, these morphemes are what? Morphemes are your the stat, matic, tron, and sweetness, may nes, and say in the word like lovely. So in lovely, after this ly, after lov, that is your suffix. So morphemes are your again mono syllables, that is stat, matic, and tron. So there's a connection. I'll teach you also how, if you do not know the meaning of morphemes, you can still connect. Let's read further. Like the heraldic shields of ancient knights, these morphemes were painted onto the names of scientific technologies. Technologies. So these terms here, like the shields of the ancient knights, which told everybody that a knight has arrived, even if you cannot see the knight's rank or uniform or the face, you can tell that this is a knight by the shield. Similarly, these monosyllables or the suffixes, they used to tell, they were painted onto scientific technologies to proclaim one's history and achievements to friends and enemies alike, right? So these suffixes were used. Okay, read further on. The historian Robert Proctor. So now you know that what is the answer, but I'll still explain it to you. The historian Robert Proctor at Stanford University calls the suffix tron along with matic and stat embodied symbol. So stat, matic, and tron have been mentioned in fourth. They have been described in little more detail in one. So 4 and 1 are connected, right? Next comes, so we know that this particular paragraph is about these suffixes like tron, matic, and stat, and definitely it is connected to the scientific knowledge. So there is certain amount of status or chivalry or arrogance or respect associated with, because because they have spoken about the heraldic sheets of ancient knights, and they have also said in fourth that these are embodied symbols, right? That these symbols carry a lot of meaning. Sorry, it says that to gain the suffix was to acquire a proud and optimistic emblem of electronic and atomic age. So to gain suffix, so to gain suffix, here again same thing, it was a proud and optimistic emblem of electronic and atomic age, right? So to gain suffix was to it was to gain a so if you have a suffix, you are were considered in very high esteem. Also, if you look at why 2 is not relevant here, for one is that we are talking about modernism, and here we are talking about an ancient age, about a time when this used to happen, say the historian says. So we're talking about history, it is not talking about modernism. 1. 2 is that 2 talks second point, how to explain that 2 is not a part and 2 is the answer and 2 is odd one out, is that 2 is talking about that ideals of high modernism, saying that any idea, any process is not too complex to be understood. That is we are trying to simplify something, we are trying to reduce the arrogance or the hype or the undue respect or the arrogance associated with certain knowledge aspects, and make it make it for the masses, make it massy, right? We are trying to bring in democracy when it for the people, of the people, by the people, in scientific concepts, in certain understandings. Bringing democracy, bringing people, everybody on the equal platform is one idea, and giving pride, giving respect, showing off one's achievements, right? This is a different idea, and they are quite opposite to each other. When you say that I have achieved something, it's an emblem, it's pride, and it's this is a very distinct idea. In fact, to some extent, this is also opposite to claiming that the idea is democratic in nature, that we're trying to spread the knowledge across. It is not too complex to be grasped or managed or optimized. So these two ideas are different. That is one thing. So 2 is out of context. 3, 4, 5, and 1, they were talking about the suffixes being utilized to provide a certain amount of honor or respect or pride in the name of scientific technologies and the people who have found them. So starts with 1 says a history. The historian at Robert Proctor at Stanford calls the suffix "ton" along with matic and stat embodied symbols. Then goes 1, stat signals something measurable, while matic advertise free labor, and tron above all indicated controls. 4-1, right? Then says that to gain suffix was to acquire a proud and optimistic emblem of electronic and atomic age. It goes on 3, like the heraldic shields of ancient knights. These morphemes are again what? Suffixes were painted onto the names of scientific technologies to proclaim one's history and achievements to friends and enemies alike. and 2 is out of context, talking about that something was an emblem. It was referring to something else. It is a misfit here in from a different wherever it was picked up, that it was an emblem of high modernism, and that there was a culture of making thoughts and ideas and available and knowledge available to everybody else. So there was a democratization of knowledge. So it was yeah, is that. Please, if there are any doubts, please ask in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer them. Again, let's come to the third question. 5 sentences related to a topic are given below. 4 of them can be put together to form a meaningful and coherent short paragraph. Identify the odd one out. Choose its number as your answer, and it ends. Again, this is odd one out question. So read it, because we have to do things by process. We have to I have to also emphasize to you and remind to you that you have to read questions very properly, because questions can be tweaked here and there without they telling you that questions have been tweaked. And because you are used to reading them in a certain way in your test series, in your question papers, mock test papers, you might fall prey to these small changes. So read the questions very properly. Even on the read the instructions in the exam also very. So 5 sentences related to a topic are given below. 4 of them can be put together to form a meaningful and coherent short paragraph. Identify the odd one out. Choose your answer and key it in. One argument is that the factors that actors that do not fit within a single well-defined category may suffer from an illegitimacy discount. Illegitimacy discount. It's a financial term, basically. So says that actors that do not fit in within a single well-defined category may suffer an illegitimacy discount. Illegitimacy means when something is illegal, not legal. So let's read further. And this actors can mean actual film actors also, and they can also mean that we are talking about certain factors or certain attributes or certain aspects which are responsible for another effect. We don't know about it. Let's go to 2. Others believe that complex identities confuse audiences about an organization's role or purpose. Okay, 2 talks about complex identities which confuse audiences about an organization and its role and its this is different, right? We were talking about complex, we were talking about that actors who do not fit in a single category or misfits, they may suffer from certain amount of a bias or a problem or may suffer and something which is illegal, something which is not legal. On those terms we can understand it's a financial term. All right. And I'll train you how to, even if you don't understand what this term means, how still to solve the question. Okay, because the problem is that you think most of us think that very hyperbolic terms or difficult words, they will stop us from solving the questions, which is not the case, right? Second says, others believe that complex identities confuse audiences about an organization. So complex, if a company's if an organization has a complex identity, the whatever the organization portrays, or whatever the organization thinks about itself, it's a little complex. It's not very simple. The organization doesn't have a single stand. It may take various stands. It may have various thoughts for various problems. It's a complex. It is complicated. So it can confuse audience. We're talking about this. Let's see whether the next three sentences, which of the two poles they pick up, whether they pick up the one which was spoken of in the first line about an actors being misfit, or it talks about the complex identities of certain organizations, whether they confuse audience or not. 3 says some organizations have complex and multi-dimensional identities that span or combine categories, while other organizations possess narrow identities. It says that organizations have complex multi-dimensional identities. Again, it's talking about complex identities, multi-dimensional identities. So we now know, even by reading first 3 lines, that one is odd one out. How? 2 lines are talking about complex identities. One is talking about actor being a misfit, and not being a misfit, but basically not fitting into one single category. Hence, one is odd one out. We know, but still we'll read 4 and 5 for our satisfaction and joy of learning. 4 says identity is one of the most important features of organizations, but there exist opposing views among sociologists about how identity affects organizational performance. Again, 4 is talking about identity being one of the most important features of organizations. But there are some other views which exist among sociologists about how identity affects organizational. 5 says those who think that complex identities are beneficial to the strategic advantages of ambiguity and organizations' potential to differentiate themselves from competitors. So yeah, we know that the entire paragraph beginning from 2nd line to the 5th line, it is talking about complex identities which many organizations have. It is not talking about that an actor is that actors or any factors are misfit or. Should we attempt to sort of unjumble 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay. How many of you think that the first line will be the 4th one? The starting line will be the 4th one. Identity is one of the most important features of organizations. But there exist opposing views among sociologists about how identity affects organizational performance. Okay. And the identity affects organizational performance. Then comes your line number 3, which says that some or organizations have complex and multidimensional identities that span or combine categories, while other organizations possess narrow identities. 5 says those who think. Now, what was said about complex? So one more thing happens that so it is not required to do this, but still we're doing it for the fun and joy. This will also sharpen your para formation skills, para jumble skills. So first line, intro line talks about identity. What is it? How it impacts. Third talks about that complex, whether they have complex identity or they have narrow ones. Then it says, then comes to 5. So 3, 4, and 5. 5 says that those who think that complex identities are beneficial point to the strategic advantages of ambiguity, and organizations' potential to differentiate themselves from competitors. Then comes to others believe that complex identities confuse audience about an organization's role. So in this way, starting from 3, then going from 4, going to 3, and then 5 and 2. Right? So this is how it goes. So I hope it was helpful for you people. So please join in on Monday. I will coming back on Monday from 9 a.m. to we'll start on 9 a.m. And we will 9 a.m. in the verbal ability section. We'll talk about so Monday it's going to be again odd one out, but from Tuesday onwards it will again be a revision of para summary and some CAT questions which we might not have discussed, and some other questions from other premier management in entrances. Always solving CAT questions is not also helpful. We need to look at things from other angles also. So Unacademy subscription helps you in gaining skills. Only watching YouTube channels is also not helpful. You have to solve questions, and you can solve questions by Unacademy subscription. You get live classes, you get to interact with the educator, you get live polls, leaderboard, test series, and analysis, which is important, and live doubt clearing sessions as well. Also, like I said, that we get a lot of free content, right? We get a lot of free content in Unacademy app, like special live classes which happen on the app, like I do every 5 p.m. on the Academy app every Sunday. So this Sunday we are doing a class on odd one out, and we talk about some amazing techniques which we sort of in odd one out we might not have discussed, or I would like to place some new ideas there. So we'll be doing that. Also we will be covering other things, for example, and whatever classes which happen on the app, they're live, or YouTube they're live, they will get recorded, and after say 5 minutes of their live telecast is over, they'll be uploaded as any other videos, and you can look at the older ones at n number of times without any or but at the same time, like I said, Unacademy subscription is an amazing investment into your future. Please use Saxena 10 to get 10% discount on your Unacademy purchases. Thank you very much. See you at 2 p.m. in the reading comprehension live class. We are again solving CAT.